For decades, the dream of clean, limitless energy from nuclear fusion has felt, well, just out of reach, dominated by these massive, super complex machines. But what if there was a completely different, maybe even a more elegant way to do it? Today, we're diving into Helion, a company whose pretty wild approach to fusion could, and I mean this, literally change the course of human history.
For years, what was going on inside Helion's facility was a total secret. Seriously, locked down. This technology is so potentially transformative that the first public footage of it is now being pored over by nuclear physicists all around the world. The stakes just couldn't be higher. So what on earth makes their approach so different?
Okay, let's get into it. To really get why Helion is such a big deal, you first have to understand the mainstream approach. For decades, it's all been about a machine called the tokamak. And while they're promising, they come with some absolutely massive challenges. And it all starts with the fuel they use.
The biggest, most fundamental difference between Helion and everyone else really just boils down to the fuel. See, traditional tokamaks use a mix of deuterium and tritium. Helion, on the other hand, uses deuterium and helium-3. Now, that might sound like a small change in the recipe, but it makes all the difference in the world. Because while deuterium is common, tritium is a massive engineering nightmare.
Here's why tritium is such a pain. Get this. There are only about 20 kilograms of it on the entire planet. A single reactor would need 300 grams per day. That's enough to burn through the whole global supply in just 2 months. The proposed workaround is to breed more of it on site, but that process is expensive, it blasts the reactor with damaging high-energy neutrons, and it actually creates radioactive waste. It almost brings us right back to the same problems we have with old-school nuclear fission.
So this is where Helion's 6th-generation machine, Trenta, comes into the picture. It's a completely fresh approach designed to sidestep all those problems we just talked about. And you can see it looks totally different from a tokamak because it works in a totally different way.
Instead of just trying to hold hot fuel in a magnetic bottle forever, Helion kind of orchestrates this 4-step fusion symphony. It starts by forming 2 separate rings of plasma. Then, boom! Powerful magnets fire these rings toward each other at over 1,000,000 miles an hour. When they collide, all that kinetic energy instantly turns into intense heat. And then for the finale, one last magnetic squeeze pushes the temperature past 100 million degrees, and you get fusion.
Now, this really unique process unlocks 2 revolutionary advantages that are right at the heart of Helion's design. A much smarter way to create its own fuel, and a radically more efficient way to capture the energy it produces. So remember how we said helium-3 is crazy rare? Well, this is Helion's genius solution. They can actually make their own. They start by fusing 2 common deuterium atoms together. And guess what? One of the byproducts of that reaction is the very helium-3 they need for their main power-generating reaction. It's just an incredibly elegant way to solve the fuel supply problem right there on site.
The second game changer is how they get the electricity out of the machine. Traditional power plants, whether they run on fusion or fossil fuels, they all follow the same playbook. Use heat to boil water, create steam, and spin a turbine. It's this inefficient, clunky, multi-step process. Helion's design just skips all that. It generates electricity directly from the fusion reaction itself.
So how does that even work, right? Think of it like a piston in an engine, but it's entirely electromagnetic. The fusion reaction causes the plasma to expand really fast. This expanding plasma pushes back against the magnetic field that's holding it. And, thanks to the laws of physics, a moving magnetic field directly creates an electric current in any wires nearby. No steam, no turbines, just pure, direct, efficient electricity.
So just how much power are we talking about? The number you want to remember is 18.3 mega electron volts. That's the energy released from a single fusion event. To put that in perspective for you, it's not just more energy than the mainstream fusion reaction, it's a staggering 4 times more powerful than splitting a uranium atom in a typical nuclear plant. So yeah, this isn't just a clever process, it's an incredibly potent one.
Now, achieving fusion pulses is one thing, and it's incredible. But turning this machine into a commercial power plant that can run 24/7 and light up our cities, that is a whole different ballgame. This is where the truly immense engineering challenges really begin. So what's standing between the Trenta prototype we see today and a future where Helion is powering our grid? Well, there are 4 major challenges they need to solve for their next-generation machine, which is called Polaris.
First, they have to dramatically speed things up. Trenta pulses about once every 10 minutes.
A commercial plant needs to be pulsing multiple times per second. That, as you can imagine, creates enormous heat challenges. How do you manage all that? Then there's integrating the whole system to put clean, grid-ready power out and making sure every single component can survive the stress of billions of these powerful fusion pulses.
According to Helion's founder, David Kirtley, the single biggest challenge probably comes down to heat. He says that as these systems run continuously and start to really heat up, their physical properties begin to change. The magnets behave differently, the plasma interacts with the walls differently. Predicting and engineering for those changes is one of the most exciting and most difficult problems they're solving right now.
And you know, this is a huge benefit of Helion's smaller, faster approach. They're already learning and iterating on the fly. For instance, they found out with Trenta that the super hot plasma was interacting with the chamber walls more than their simulations predicted. So what did they do? Their next machine, Polaris, is already being built 25% larger to account for that real-world data. That's a change that would be almost impossible for a giant decade-long tokamak project.
Helion's path is definitely not the one most people have followed. It relies on a different fuel, a totally different machine, and a different way of capturing energy. But you know what? That unconventional thinking might just be its greatest strength. It leaves us with this really critical question. In the race for fusion, will the victory go to the biggest and most powerful machine, or to the one that can learn, adapt, and solve these engineering challenges the fastest?